Asgard looking like he had conquered everything. And then, as we watched each episode come out, we never got that. There was no payoff. That scene did not exist in the 6 episodes of Loki. So what actually happened to King Loki? Well, it's pretty complex because it actually involves Throg. It actually involves the Frog of Thunder, Thor as the Frog of Thunder, and those are different actual entities. So we're going to break everything down and how it all connects, because we do have answers on what actually happened. And this is credit to the direct. I'll put a link in the description. So let's start off with the Frog of Thunder. There's actually 2 separate things going on here. The first one was Frog Thor. It was actually Thor in the comics way back, which everybody thought was pretty crazy, right? But then you also had Throg. Now, Throg is not Thor, at least not in the comics. So let me break that down for you and explain exactly what we're looking at here when it comes to the different Frog Thors, because a lot of people are confused with this. Throg is actually Simon Walterson. That's right, who is a former college athlete that was transformed into a frog named Puddle Gulp by a gypsy curse. So he was embodied with the powers of Thor, and he became the mighty Frog of Thunder. He was actually part of the Pet Avengers, if you followed that line as well. Had his little mini version, had his mini Mjolnir, the whole 9 yards. So those two kind of get intertwined together, not to be confused with Thor, the Frog of Thunder. But we're going to focus on the Marvel Cinematic Universe and their depiction of everything. And you guys, if you haven't seen episode 5, and you haven't seen the amazing Easter egg where Throg, which is supposed to be Thor, so we're just going to put those two together. He's Thor, Throg, the Frog of Thunder. Say that 3 times fast, and he's trying to get the Mjolnir. He's in the bottle. You guys know the Easter egg. If you don't, you probably see it on the screen here. So, what does that have to do with King Loki? Well, it actually all ties in, because the scene of Loki standing on the throne of Asgard is actually a deleted scene that we now have confirmation on that didn't happen. So one more reference to add to this, which was Loki talking about how he apologized for turning Thor into a frog in Thor of Ragnarok.
I turned you into a frog. It was a wonderful joke.
Which was obviously another callback, another little payoff, another little just jab at the Frog of Thunder. It all kind of comes full circle with Marvel. That's how they do things. So the direct actually sat down with the Loki Disney Plus series composer Natalie Holt, and she not only kind of gave an idea of what was going on, she kind of gave it all, which is pretty cool if you ask me. So they sat down, and she mentioned that sequence with Loki standing arms up, the throne of Asgard, everything's conquered, King Loki, was actually part of a deleted scene with Thor. But not just Thor. It was Frog Thor. That's right. This actually was written in, and I'll explain why it didn't happen. So the promotional footage that had that was also supposed to include a deleted scene where Throg, MCU's version of Frog Thor, Throg, once again, Frog Thor and Throg were 2 separate entities in the comics, but we're just going with Throg, okay? And it's Thor because he actually did the grunts in the voice acting, okay? Was actually going to give Loki a beatdown. Yep, that's right. In a TVA time loop, the Frog of Thunder was going to beat the crap out of Loki. Think back to the Hulk and the Avengers and the beatdown he gave him, and imagine a little mighty frog. That's it. And the quote goes, there was a moment in episode 1 when Mobius is showing Loki his life, and there were more moments. And I think they just kind of cut it down to give a bit more focus. But there were a few extra moments in there, and that Frog of Thunder moment was one of them. I had done something with a choir for it, like this big grand moment where Loki takes over the crown of Asgard, and then you see Thor as a frog. Now, you're probably upset. You're probably like, why did this amazing epic scene not come to life? Well, they go on to talk and say that it would have been a very funny moment, but it felt like it would mess up the pacing and it would be too lighthearted. And episode 1 really needed to get Loki broken down. They needed to have the pacing. They needed to tell their story in a very, very I guess, how would you say, a very condensed, very straightforward way. They didn't want too many lighthearted moments to take away from the severity and the seriousness of that episode. And unfortunately, Frog of Thunder would have been just that. It would have been as lighthearted as you could ever get, which is sad because, let's be real, the Frog of Thunder beating down King Loki would have just set the internet on fire. It would have. But it's really cool to know that the King Loki scene that was in the promotional series, or the promotional material that we never got, was actually connected to the Frog of Thunder and Thor, which would have actually been Chris Hemsworth at the helm. I guess it's just something we'll never ever get. But does that mean that now it's been teased? And I'll see you soon.